Okay, good morning to everyone. I'm just going to start with this fourth chapter, that is Introduction to Hibernate. Okay, that is from Unit 5th. Now we'll start with the introduction. If you remember, students, last lecture, what we have learned, it was all about the object relational mapping. The first two chapter was all about the object relational mapping. Okay, I told you why there is a need of an object relational mapping. Just a brief revision what we have done. So in the very first chapter, I told you when we have learned about the persistence. Okay, so we need to have our data persistent data. Okay, because uh, say for example, if there is any kind of a system failure or a system crash, our data should be that much strong enough to overcome, and then should have a backup of it, and that is why we call that the data should be persistent. Okay. Secondly, uh, we have one mismatch, that term called as impedance mismatch, between the object oriented language and the relational database. Okay, so if I'll say the object oriented language, it itself having its own structure where we can write our programs. Okay, and then in the relational databases we have another form of a structure where we can store the data. Okay, it will come in the form of a table where the rows and columns are will be there. Obviously, from the programming language to the database, if I want to store some data, okay, we have say number of programs where I have shown you, the client is going to give you some dynamic inputs at the runtime. That inputs are going to be taken from your language, what you are going to write for your server, and then after that it is going to pass it to the database. To pass it to the database, we need to write some connectivity steps, define the connectivity steps. We have to use defined classes of the JDBC. Okay, and then only the language is being able to convert the object oriented language to the database language, because we need to write the SQL query also in our programs. Okay, so that was all manual work what we were doing it. Fine. We cannot have a direct, like the conversion from the language to the database. Conversion means you cannot directly store the data taking from client directly to the database, until and unless you will have some JDBC code in your program to do that task. Fine. So when there is a mismatch in the structure, in the format of these two things, object oriented language and the relational database, it is something called as an impedance mismatch. Okay, so to overcome with this mismatch, there is a term called as an you can say the persistence, or you can call it as Java persistence API, or you can call it as the ORM tool. Fine. Now to implement the persistence in our program, I told you that there is a package called as javax.persistence, which you need to do it very first thing in your program. Okay, whenever you're going to code it for your server side, you need to implement. And when you want to, have this kind of an implementation where you don't want to write the Java code for the database connectivity, but it should happen directly, it should happen automatically. And that for that need, when we have, the layers. Okay, the first layer will be your client layer, the second layer will be your server side layer where business logic will be written, third layer normally it becomes your database layer. Okay, that was a basic structure, basic layer architecture, we follow it for all the languages where we have the database connectivity. But here when we implement the persistence, we need a JPA provider. If you remember last lecture, I gave you the fourth layer, which is there in between your second layer, that is your business logic layer and the database layer. So in between these two, I'm going to install one thing, that is what your JPA provider or a JPA layer, who is going to give me the persistence layer. For that need, if I want to have that, the one layer to be put between your object oriented language and your database, I need to implement, I need to import a package or an API that is for JPA, that is something called as javax.persistence.star in my program. Okay, once I do that import statement, once I write that import statement, I am successfully, giving hint to my program that okay, I'm going to use a persistence in my program where I'm not going to write my database connectivity steps. There will be some tool which I am going to call in my program, who is going to do that conversion for me. Fine. Now, the ORM tool, that is your object relational mapper tool, is something which is going to be work in between your between your object oriented language and the database. Now, what is ORM? It's a mapping file. Okay, it's a configuration file. Like your web.xml, we have orm.xml file. Understanding? Like your EJB jar dot XML file, we have ORM dot XML file. So that XML file is going to be added in your program whenever you are going to do a program by implementing persistence in your Java code. Okay, that ORM is going to take automatically all the values from your Java code, and then it is going to map to the database. Fine. Now it is very important to understand that which ORM tool you are going to implement it. Fine. ORM mapper is there, like ORM tool is there, but that is your object relational mapper. Now there are n number of ORM tools are available in the market. Okay, one of them is Hibernate. Fine. We have Top Link, we have Eclipse Link, we have number of other tools available which will work for the different platforms. When I say it is Eclipse Link, so when I'm going to use Eclipse instead of NetBeans, it is going to work for me over there in like on behalf of ORM. Okay, on behalf of Hibernate, you can say. In NetBeans, if I'm using Hibernate as an ORM tool, in Eclipse I can go with the Eclipse Link as an ORM tool. Okay, so here I am going to have an orm.xml file, which is a mapping file. I'm clearly saying that I'm going to use an ORM tool. For me, the ORM tool which I'm going to use as per my syllabus is an Hibernate. Okay, now out of all these things, you have to understand one thing in this chapter. The very first thing you can say that Hibernate is something you can call it as an ORM tool. Okay, it's an ORM tool means what? It is going to provide me the solution in Java where I can overcome with the impedance mismatch of the mismatch which is happening between your object oriented language and your databases. Okay, while having the database connectivity, where I don't want to have the manual connectivity steps, where I want to have an automatic conversion. Fine. So Hibernate is an ORM tool. Fine. It's a solution for the Java database connectivity. Fine. It is a powerful and the high performance object relational persistence and query service. Fine, it is very much powerful. It is going to give you a very high performance when you're going to have an object relational persistence and the query services. That means whenever you're going to have an SQL query, okay, and Hibernate itself having its own query language, that is something called as HQL. I have told you number of times that Hibernate query language is its own language. It's a own query language through which it can communicate with the database. Okay, it is going to allow to the it is going to allow to us to develop the persistence classes. That means when you are going to import the persistent package or API in your program, it's going to allow us to have the number of persistence classes which is going to be written inside your object oriented like code, whatever you're going to write in your Java code. Okay, it can allow you to use number of features of object oriented language, that is including association, inheritance and polymorphism. As I told you, Hibernate is a very much popular open source, freely available object relational mapping tool for the Java platform. Okay, it's an open source, freely available. It's an ORM tool available for the Java platform. It is going to take care about the mapping of a Java class where you're going to code it. Okay, and it is going to map it to the database tables where you're going to create your rows and columns, or you can say entities and the attributes. And it is also going to provide the data query, and it will help us to retrieve the data also from the database. Okay, Hibernate is going to reduce the development time in the software projects because we are not going to write the manual database connectivity steps in Hibernate. Okay, it is going to be an open source ORM tool for Java. We learned already this. It is going to provide me number of features, that is going to be association, inheritance, polymorphism, compositions. All these features are been provided by the Hibernate also, because it is meant for the Java and Java provides all these features. So but obviously it goes with all the technologies what we are going to talk. Fine. Then next comes your Hibernate is going to relieve the developer from 95% of the common data persistence related programming task. Because when we talk about the programming, we have an programming with the database connectivity. So the major part what we are going to have is the database connectivity code what we are going to write. Because if we are taking input from the client, even though we are processing it in the server side script, but if it is not reflecting into the database, then there is no point of making that application, because it is like a failure of that application if it is not working the way we wanted. Okay, if we want to have a dynamic data or input from the client and let it get stored into the database. If it is not happening, then obviously it is not going to work for us, it is a failure. Okay, but when I am going to have the opportunity where I don't want to write the database steps, okay, the tools are available which is going to do that task for me. Fine, so it is going to relieve me 95% of the common data, or you can say the programming task what I'm going to do in my server side. You can say the language server side programming what I'm going to do it for my application. Okay, Hibernate is a free software. It number of times we have learned this in the same slide. So it's an open source, means it's a free software. No licensing is required. Now, why Hibernate is better than JDBC? We all know that JDBC is used for what? So if I am having number of databases available in the market, like maybe it is your SQL server, maybe it is a MySQL, or it is an Oracle, whatever database you can talk about. So nowadays, almost all the databases are supporting and having its JDBC API. I told you in one of the chapter that JDBC is exclusively meant for the Java language. It is not is going to be used for any other languages. If I want to have the database connectivity, okay, I can go with the ODBC, that is Open Database Connectivity. Okay, Java database connectivity is something JDBC it's only made for the Java language. It cannot be used for the other language. Okay, now, why the JDBC was being used? It's an API. Again, it's a package which is going to have some already written things into it to have the connectivity with the databases. So it is going to allow me to have my language or my code what I have written for the server side needs to get connected to the database. So for that need I need an API in between which is going to help me to do that basically. Fine. So all the databases available in the market, they support JDBC API because they must have the JDBC API. Otherwise, the Java code is not going to get communication with them. Okay. Even though we can implement ODBC in between, but we need to have number of other types, to have a conversion from ODBC to JDBC, something like that. Fine. Now, why Hibernate is better than JDBC? Because there is a relational persistence for the Java while working with object oriented software, or you can see the relational databases, where working with both is going to be a complicated task with the JDBC, because there is definitely going to be a mismatch. We have learned that what impedance mismatch is. Impedance mismatch is between how the data is going to be presented in your normal language, in the normal structure of your language, and then the relational databases where the data are stored in the form of a tables. Okay, so there is going to be an impedance mismatch. Secondly, it is going to have a transparent persistence where the Hibernate is going to give you an automatic mapping of your Java objects or your Java language to the database table. Okay, that is something called as transparent persistency, which is not available with JDBC. Third, it is going to be support for the query language. JDBC supports only native, the SQL query language. But as I told you, Hibernate is itself having its own language, also query language. Okay, so Hibernate, or you can say any ORM tool, has been designed in such a way that they are going to understand the language which we have used for the servers, and they are going to understand the database language also. So that only is the beauty, where they can understand both the languages and they can convert the language for each other. Okay, so that is how it is going to work. If it is supporting or understanding only the Java language, not understanding the relational language, so how it is going to have that conversion? Fine. So there is an option available, provisions are available in the you can say the tools what we are going to use, like your Hibernate. So they are been supporting all the languages. Okay, JDBC supports only SQL language, where the ORM tool like Hibernate have the provision to support other query languages which are available. One of them its own language, that is something called as Hibernate query language. Then we have database dependent code. Obviously, when I'm going to work with the JDBC, I need to write a database connectivity steps. If you remember the connection class, register method, statement class, result set class, all those things we have to write. We have to give the driver path. We have to give the URL, defining the username, host name, port number, password. Everything we have to mention in a proper structure and in the proper syntax form. Okay, so if at all one thing is also going to miss, or if I'm going to not writing correctly, then the connectivity is not going to happen. Fine, that is the problem is there in the JDBC, but your Hibernate is going to handle it everything by its own. So the developer need not to write anything like the database steps in its code. Maintenance code with JDBC, it is obviously the developer's responsibility to handle all the JDBC result set. That means the result set means where I am going to have a select query, where I am going to fire a query to fetch the data from the database, or I can have the statement class where I'm going to write the statements like update statement, insert statement, create statement. So all these things needs to be handled by the developer itself. Okay, and they need to convert it into the database code, database, you can say the tables in the form of rows and columns. So it is a whole job responsibility of the developer. Where it is the job responsibility in ORM, it is a responsibility of a tool what we are using it. Optimizing performance, obviously the performance is going to be more in terms of your Hibernate, because it is going to take first of all the very less disk space, because we are not writing anything into the code, we are not writing any database steps into the code. It is already written somewhere in the tool, we just need to implement it. Okay, automatic versioning and time stamping. So by the database versioning, one can assure the changes which is been done by one person is not been rolled back by the another one, even unintentionally. Okay, so if I'm saying there is, the database where I'm just putting my data with the help of an ORM tool, so even unintentionally it's not possible by the another person to roll back or to remove or update any data which is being done by one person who is responsible to do that. Okay, it is open source, obviously, which is going to have a zero cost product license. So Hibernate is a very much open source and the free software which is available for a free API which is available for the Java platform. Enterprise class reliability and scalability, you can completely rely on the Hibernate. Okay, you can completely rely on the ORM tool which you are going to use it for your Java language. Fine, for the database connectivity. And it is also having a provision to extend. That means we have a scalability option where I can have a number of things to be added on in like, depending upon the requirements what I'm going to have having from the like in future, maybe it is required to implement certain features into the tool. It is allowing, it is having that scalability option, it is not restricted. Okay, now here we have three layers. One is your application. Okay, one will be your Hibernate, one will be your database. Application means the application which is written, designed using the Java language, which is going to communicate to your database via Hibernate, the tool which I have implemented in between your application and database. Okay, so in application I am going to have an object, and I'm considering that objects are going to be the persistent objects. Okay, now in Hibernate, what all things I'm going to have? I'm going to have a mapping tool, or you can say the configuration files. Configuration files can be your .xml file, or it can be .properties file. Okay, rest in all the technologies you had .xml file only, but in Hibernate you have an option to have a .properties file, or it can be the .xml file. Okay, both are going to be the configuration file for your Hibernate. Now, as I told you, the configuration data can be defined either in your hibernate.properties file, or it is going to be hibernate.cfg.xml file. Okay, CSG stands for configuration. Now, this configuration is going to hold the mapping documents, mapping information, and the database dialect, database information. Fine. Now, what are the components of Hibernates are there? So this is also important question from this chapter. Okay, so components of Hibernate. You have the very first component as what your connection management. So Hibernate connection management is going to provide me a very efficient management of the database connection. So whatever connection I'm going to try to have it between your language and the database, it is going to provide me an efficient connection, efficient management of that connection. Okay. Secondly, it is going to be transaction management. That means you are allowed to execute more than one database statement at a time. Fine. It is going to provide me that facility where I can be able to execute more than one SQL statement or a database statement at a given time. Third component is your object relational mapping. That is your ORM tool. And ORM, you can say the mapper, which is going to help me to map the data from an object model to the relational model, where I can be able to or the Hibernate is going to be used to have a statements like your select statement, insert statement, delete statement, okay, update statement. You can you can use all these statements to update your records, to insert the new record into the database table. So this is your third component which is going to help you to do this. That is, first one is your connection management component, second one is your transaction management component, and third one is what your object relational mapping component. Now the last topic, but the very important topic, definitely this question will be there. Okay, so the topic is architecture of Hibernate, and we have learned about number of architectures even in the first two chapters. So all the architectures what you have in your syllabus, please learn it properly. All the life cycle what you have, please learn it properly. All questions are important. Fine. Now the last topic is what your architecture of Hibernate. So here again we have a three layers. We have a Java application, we have a database, and we have a Hibernate layer, or you can say the ORM tool which I am implementing it. So Hibernate is one of the ORM tool which I am going to implement in between your Java application and the database. Okay. So in the Java application, I am going to have an object, considering that it is a persistent object. Okay. Now this Java application is going to be like created, is going to be developed using the Java language. Fine. And I am having a database. I am going to have all the records which are going to come from my application. Now, as I told you, we need to have that implementation where I don't have to write the database connectivity steps, and I'm going to have an automatic conversion, okay, using some ORM tool like your Hibernate. So what I am doing it, I'm implementing the Hibernate over here. But doesn't mean that inside the Hibernate, inside that ORM tool, there will be certain level through which your object need to pass. Okay, if I'm saying there is a Java application, the whole application is been represented by the object of that application. As we all know that object of an application is going to hold all the information about all the things what you have written is going to be represented by an object of that application. That's why it says it's an object oriented language. Okay, everything has been done by the object of your application. So to have that object conversion, whatever data the object is holding, and having that conversion by using the ORM tool automatically, and it gets stored into the database, how it is going to follow all the levels which are there in the ORM tool. Okay, so this is your ORM tool, Hibernate. So how many steps we have to have that conversion? That is configuration, session factory, session, transaction, query, and criteria. Okay, so now there are the six levels which through which the object need to pass. Now these six levels are there inside the Hibernate, inside the ORM tool. It's not a part of your concern. Okay, it is already designed in such a way that it is going to work automatically with the object's data. Fine. And in the database, we are going to have three things. One is a transaction API, which is going to help me to have a rollback or a commit statements. I'm going to have a JDBC API, which is a mandatory part, which I have to install in my database, or it should be there. It must come with a database. Okay, whichever database it's irrespective whichever database I'm going to use, it's not an issue. But then database should have a JDBC API. Then only it will be able to communicate with my Java application. Okay, and then we should have an JNDI. It is a naming directory interface. If it wants to access, or if you want to search something, you can do it with the help of a JNDI. Fine. Now, which is the part is very important is this six level what we have written inside the Hibernate. So we are going to learn one by one all those six steps. Okay, so the very first thing is what your configuration object. Fine. The configuration object is the first Hibernate object you are going to create in your Hibernate application. Fine. Whenever you are going to get the data, or instead of saying you, or I can say in the Hibernate the tool, whenever the Hibernate tool is going to get the information in the form of an object from a Java application, what is going to happen is it is going to create, the Hibernate tool is going to create a configuration object, the mapping object. Okay, and that is going to be the very first object of your Hibernate tool which is going to be created for your application. Fine. It is usually been created when your application is going to be initialized. Fine. When your Java application is going to be executed, when your Java application is going to be assigned with an object by your container, and then when the initialization happens, it comes to your configuration part in the Hibernate tool, where the Hibernate is going to have the very first object for your application is configuration object. Okay. Now, what is going to be consist in this configuration object? It is going to have two things. One is a database connection. That means this is going to be handled by one or more configuration file. That configuration file, either it can be hibernate.properties or it is going to be hibernate.cfg.xml file, which is a mapping file. Okay. So here it is going to have the the major thing that is going to be your database connection, and for that need you require two files which needs to be supported, like which is supported by the Hibernate. It is going to be your hibernate.properties and hibernate.cfg.xml. Okay. Secondly, what is required is class mapping setup. Okay, so here we need the persistent classes, or you can say the component which needs to be designed, or it is going to be designed by the Hibernate tool, which is going to have an actual connection set up between your Java class and the database tables. Fine. Class mapping means your XML file which is going to take it forward to have the connectivity between your class and the tables. Fine. So first one was your configuration object. Now second one is what your session factory object. So when I am going to move from one level to the another one, okay, so the application has sent all the information in its object. That object has reached to the Hibernate tool. Need the Hibernate tool, the first job what is going to do is it is going to create a configuration object, okay, for that information which has came from the application. In the configuration object, it is going to have a configuration files, either it is properties file or an XML file. Okay, well, when we are going to have a class mapping also, then we come to the next level, that is what a session factory object. Now here the configuration object, the previous object, is also responsible to create the next level object, that is your session factory object. Okay, what is the job of this session factory object is it is going to configure your Hibernate for the Java application, what application you have created and for which you are passing the information, is going to configure the Hibernate for that application. It will make your Hibernate ready to communicate with the application using some configuration details from the file which is going to come from the configuration object. So the file what we have, properties file or an XML file. Okay, so based on the configuration details, it is going to try to have the actual config, you can say, it is going to configure your Hibernate. It is going to make your Hibernate ready to have an communication with the application data which has came from the Java application. Also it is going to create, now the session factory job is what, take an object, or it is going to have its object which has been actually created by the first level, that is configuration object. And after that it is going to have the second task is that it is going to configure, it's going to make the Hibernate ready to work with the Java application data. Third thing what is going to be done by session factory object is it is going to allow the session object to be instantiated. That means the third layer, the third level in the Hibernate tool, that is session object, the object of the session is going to be created by the session factory. Fine. Now it is going to be the third layer, session, where I am going to have an actual physical connection with the database. So I am being connected with my application. Okay, I have collected data from the Java application. The collection happened in my configuration step. I have created some mapping file also. The Hibernate actually created a mapping file. It has went to the second step, session factory. Now the session factory is responsible to make the configuration or make the Hibernate able to communicate with the Java application. So there what we have done, we have built a communication with the Java application. Okay, so one side with the help of a session factory, I am communicated with my application. Secondly, the session object is going to help me to have a physical connection with the database now. Okay, so what is happening now, I am also connected, the Hibernate tool is connected to the application also, it has been connected to the database also. Okay, then finally comes your transaction object, which is actually responsible to work with the database and to do all the possible you can say the functionalities like selection, insertion, updation, whatever you can talk about, the RDBMS concepts what you have. Okay, where you can actually start the transaction or passing the data from one application to the database. Okay, then we have a query object. Query object is something where I am going to have a query language. So I have understood the application information which has came. I have configured my Hibernate in such a way that the session factory has configured the Hibernate in such a way it is going to understand the application. Then I'm going to have my session object, which is actually responsible to have a physical connection. Okay. And then I'm going to have a query object where my Hibernate now is going to understand the query language of the database also. Okay. So using a query object, now it is going to understand the query language. Either it is going to be the SQL or its own language, that is something called as a Hibernate query language. Fine. Then lastly, it is going to be your criteria objects, which is going to basically execute your uh, queries, okay, which will help me to retrieve the data from the database. Fine. So this is how your ORM tool, something like, maybe one example is your Hibernate, was going to work for you for the automatic conversion. Automatic conversion means it's not directly happening anything. There will be certain things already developed and written inside that tool by the developers. Okay. Not we as a developer who is going to code for an application. Okay. There will be certain other developers are available who generally develop the APIs for the languages. Okay. So those kind of a developer maybe has developed the ORM tool, and they have certain level of, you can say, layers available to do that conversion. Fine. So there we end this chapter. Now I'll just stop sharing. If you have any doubts, students, now you can ask me.